episode I did on how being a candidate attorney almost broke me, a lot of you guys have asked me to share some tips and tricks on how to set yourself apart during interviews when you want to be a candidate attorney. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have not one, but 5 tips that are highly important when you are going through interviews to be a candidate attorney. And I also have a bonus tip that you really do not want to miss. So please do stay tuned for today's video as I share my learnings from my own journey. Dumelang and welcome to my corner of the internet. This is episode 7 of our lovely series titled Reinvent Yourself, wherein I'm essentially just sharing my career journey so far in hopes that you and I are going to be acquainted with each other and journey towards our dreams, our goals, our desires in life as a progressive community. With no further ado, let me get right into the content for today. So first things first, let me just give you a bit of a background as to how my journey unfolded and what gives me some credentials to be talking about the subject today. So I did my LLB at UKZN, and while I was completing my LLB, I was also pursuing radio, which went really well because I landed a national radio gig while I was still in varsity. By the time I completed my LLB, I didn't go straight into practicing law. I went into corporate. I worked at a bank. I did that for a couple of years until such a time that I wanted to pivot back into law and I wanted to be admitted as an attorney. And I went through that process. I talk about all of that in the episode I was speaking about, where I was just sharing my journey as a candidate attorney. If you've not watched it, please do check it out. So with that being said, let me get into the tips because I know that that's what you really want from today's episode. Tip number 1, and I think this really goes without saying, but it's important that I highlight it just so that I don't leave it out and a person who may place reliance on this video then forget to attend to this. Technical aspects of the interview will surely come up. So please do prepare. Just prepare yourself for some technical questions. Yes, you're coming in to be a candidate attorney. You are going to be coming into people who will assume and take you in as a blank canvas, and they're going to be giving you the legal training and they're going to be exposing you to, different matters, etc. But you must show that obviously you have an LLB, and for some of you, you already have your PLT as well. So you must be prepared for some technical questions. They're highly unlikely to throw a lot of legal jargon at you, but they may ask you some really rudimentary questions such as define what summons is, or define what a summary judgment is. What is the difference between a default judgment and a summary judgment? What is the difference between a defendant and a respondent? Things like that. So those very, very basic questions, do prepare for them, and they might just come up so that when they do, you are able to answer. However, pro tip on this: when you are in the interview room and you get asked a technical question and you actually did not prepare for that question and you don't know the answer, do not guess. Just be bold enough to say, I do not know the answer. I am going to go back and research and refresh, because they are probably going to be asking you something that you must have learned during your LLB. So you must be able to say, oh, I have forgotten that. I can't remember the answer to that. Be able to articulate the fact that you do not know, but you will surely go and refresh your memory on it. So act from a place of transparency rather than trying to guess the answer, because then you guess it, you give them the wrong answer, and it just doesn't look good on you at all. Tip number 2, and I cannot stress this enough: eagerness to learn. You have to show that you are eager to learn, and you show this in answering questions, maybe some really seemingly basic questions such as, what do you do in your spare time? What are your hobbies? What do you get up to? try, obviously be sincere, but try to make sure that your hobbies reflect that you're a person who's curious, a person who is eager to learn, a person who wants to consume knowledge, a person who's a sponge, who wants to just take in a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. Because when you're coming in as a candidate attorney, you are here to learn, and as I said, that they are going to be taking you as a blank canvas. So you have to be a canvas that is teachable, that has a spirit, that is eager to learn, and very, you have enthusiasm to learn, because they're going to be not so keen on wanting to teach you if you're not eager to learn, if you don't have a teachable spirit, if you're not enthusiastic to work on different matters because you want to get exposure and want to get the knowledge. So tip number 2, be able to articulate your eagerness to learn. Tip number 3, I have it down here as humility, but I also want to call it the ability to submit. You must show that you're going to be able to submit, because if, for example, you're coming in, you have worked before, and you're slightly older in age, chances are people who are going to be senior to you in rank are, some of them are younger than you. And one thing about the legal profession is that it's very hierarchical. I know this because my husband says this all the time when he sees lawyers talking on TV, or especially advocates. A senior advocate will say, my junior. And then my husband always asks me, why do they say that? Why can't they say my colleague? And I'm like, no, because law is hierarchical. It's like that. It's very hierarchical. A person who's above you in rank has a certain honor and deserves a certain level of respect that just comes with the nature of the profession, unfortunately or fortunately. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to submit, to be able to follow that hierarchy and follow that protocol, to say that you know who's just above you and you will follow that. You will take their instructions. You will not take an instruction from someone who's, for example, an associate who's just above you as a candidate attorney, and then if you have any questions, then you just go directly to the partner or to the director. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to go back to the associate, and chances are, if you are coming in and you've worked before, you are older, chances are that associate is probably younger than you. So you have to be able to submit. You have to be able to have that humility to just learn from people who are younger than you and give them their position, give them their put them in the authoritative position that they are in at work at the time. And yeah, I can't stress how important that is, because it creates a good work dynamic wherein you are a candidate attorney, you understand your position, and you're going to respect the people who are going to be delegating work to you, who are above you in rank. So please, when you go into that interview, be able to articulate that you are a person of humility, a person who's able to submit and follow authority, and just keep up with the hierarchy. And then tip number 4, of course, clarity of purpose. I say this because when you go in there and you are pivoting, you're changing careers, and you're now coming into law, they want to know why. They want to know, why do you want to be a candidate attorney? And I'll tell you this for free. They do not want someone who says, oh no, I'm coming in to be a candidate attorney because I want to be an admitted attorney and go back to my field of work and go back now as an admitted attorney. Because if you think about it, then the firm is wasting resources on you if they're just going to take you as a candidate attorney and then you're just going to just be a candidate attorney for a year or 2 years and then off you go. Once they've trained you, off you go. You have to be able to articulate that there's a certain purpose that you want to fulfill by you being a candidate attorney. You want to add value to the firm as well once you're admitted as an attorney. And it's important then that your story is clear on that. Of course, do not lie. Do not lie and say that I want to be I want to be a partner at this firm, if that's not what you want. You have to tell the truth, but make sure that the truth aligns with with it aligns with any person who may take someone in to train them. Just make sure that you use the correct wording to just put across your point, or whatever your reason is that you decided that you want to leave your job, you want to leave your previous career, and you want to be a candidate attorney, you want to be eventually admitted as an attorney. So that is very important, and I think it's really key that you sit with yourself and focus and really just hone it down. What is my why? What's driving me to want to be an admitted attorney, and how can I phrase this, and how can I put it in a way that is going to show any firm that takes me on that I am happy and I'm willing to add value to the firm as well, once they've poured into me, once they've trained me into a legal professional. So yeah, that is my tip number 4. I think when I started interviewing, I didn't have this. I didn't have it outlined, and it was only until I had it outlined that my interviews went so much better than the initial ones, when I understood my why and I was able to just express it in the most authentic way, but also in the way that is going to be palatable to the people who are interviewing me. Tip number 5, commercial awareness. And I say this because you want to set yourself apart. You want to stand out. You want to be the candidate attorney or the candidate that is remembered. So you have to have commercial awareness. You need to know, what is the business of this law firm? Yes, they are all law firms. They all practicing law. What does the firm specialize in? And if this firm specializes in this particular area of law, who are their clients? What kind of client walks through the door of this law firm, and what are that client's needs when it comes to the legal landscape or the legal profession? And how can I, as a candidate attorney, come in with that understanding, so that when a client walks through the door, I treat them in the way that will want them to come back again and again and bring business to the law firm. So that's what I mean by commercial awareness. You have to show that you're a person who's commercially aware, who knows that the firm is practicing law because they are in business. They are in the business of law. It's very important that you understand that commercial side of it, and you show that you're a person who is commercially inclined, and to that effect, that when you do grow and become an associate and a senior associate, you are going to be able to support the directors in running their specialties within the firm. So it's important then that you are able to articulate that commercial awareness. And now onto the bonus point. The bonus point is, and this one is really personal, law firms operate on very long hours. They work very long hours. So my bonus point is, in an interview, remember to be able to position yourself as a person who can work long hours. And I'm not saying this from a stance of I can work well under pressure. No, but they may ask you some personal questions. Questions such as, are you married? Do you have children? What do you do over the weekend? If they can tell that your days are so packed and your weekends are so packed, and you are very rigid in your schedule, and you don't have capacity to work long hours, that might just put you at a disadvantage. You have to be able to say, I can take it on. This you can put across in a way of, maybe if they're asking you what you do over the weekends, I think saying that you take your children to hockey, soccer, netball, and all these things, because if they take you as a candidate attorney, those things are still going to be there. So this means that you are not going to be able to come in on the weekend when we want you to come in on the weekend, because you're going to be attending to your child's netball, hockey, and cricket and all of that. So just perhaps do say that some weekends this is what I do, but I have a husband, I have my mother, I have my mother-in-law who also does help me take care of those things, just so that you show that you have capacity to work the long hours. And it really, sometimes it boils down to that. You may really do extremely well in the interview, but because they can see that this person is not going to be readily available to push through matters of the weekend and long hours and after hours, then we can't take her on, or we can't take him on. That is very unfortunate, but it is the reality. So be sure to just be prepared to answer questions like that, questions that show that you or rather questions that are trying to suss out whether or not you are available for extra hours. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes today's episode. I hope that you found value, and good luck to those of you who are going to be attending to interviews of any sort, really, but particularly if you are looking to be a candidate attorney. And thank you very much for joining me on In Conversation with Moniso.